If we are faithful, if we are faithless, he remains faithful. For he cannot disown himself. Let me repeat. If we are faithless, he remains faithful. For he cannot disown himself. Israel doubted God. When God told them, I'll take you to a land to the promised land. They doubted God. Thank you, Reverend. And a lot of them said they want to go back to Egypt. They forgot about the slavery and the torture, and they preferred to go back rather than going to the promised land. And that is how we are. Peter denied Jesus. Yet he had seen him again and again doing things. But when a situation came, he denied, even with cursing. Philip had his own doubts. Thomas also had his own doubts. Because when he was told that Jesus had risen, he said he will not believe until it is a sign or evidence. But that does not change the faithfulness of God. He is faithful even when we are not. Why is he faithful? Because he is the only person who is perfect. We are not perfect. God is perfect in his nature. And because he is perfect, he never lies. He never speaks a lie. His love is steadfast. His love is steadfast. And he has demonstrated his love to us. If not for his love, we would not be here today. We would not be seated here. We would not be who we are, but we are because of his steadfast love. He provides for us every morning, every moment. And I know God is faithful. Sometimes we feel that God has failed us. When something we want doesn't come on time. Or the thing that we want doesn't come the way we want it. Then we start thinking that has failed. But God knows what is good for us. Sometimes he delays something for a purpose. God, in his faithfulness, cannot be cancelled by our weaknesses. Our weaknesses cannot change faithfulness, God. You remember Abraham? God made a promise to him and told him that I will bless you through a child that comes from your loins. In fact, he was very categorical. He said that he will give a child through. But as they waited, They became like us. They doubted God. They said God has failed. But God, in his own time, he fulfilled his promise. When Abraham had gone past the age, Sarah had gone beyond. In fact, they say that she was dead, as far as bearing is concerned. But what did God do? God fulfilled his promise. That is the God I'm talking about. A God who is faithful. He cannot change. So our weaknesses cannot cancel the promise of God. And one good thing about God? God is not like us, where when our child fails to do something, we punish them. We do a lot of things. God is not like that. God is merciful. Merciful. He gives and he remains faithful. Number 3, God is faithful in every season. God is faithful in every season. What I mean by that? God is not like a parent. God, in his nature, is faithful. And seasons don't change him. Situations don't change him. He doesn't change his faithfulness. He remains faithful. In Ecclesiastes chapter 3 and verses 1, this is what the Bible says. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under heaven. In these waiting seasons, because there is a time for everything, faithfulness is what guides, leads, and directs us in all those seasons. Because we have to go through seasons as we live in this world. In every situation that we face, God's faithfulness is what brings a breakthrough in our life. And so it is important that we become faithful also to him. I've had situations in my life that in my stupidity, I try to challenge God. But I've seen him faithful. One situation was when we went to the US. And, faith, I'm not going to tell you go and try that one unless you are ready for it. We agreed with my wife that we will go. And when we boarded the plane in Nairobi, we had $40 in our pocket, and we are going. We don't know how far the place is where we are going. We landed in Rome. It was very cold, and I had a very light jacket. It was very cold. Even our daughter came back to the plane when we were going out because she was hit by the cold wave. We landed in New York, and we agreed with my wife that we are not going to tell people that we have a need. And this is what I told God. I told God, listen, if I get stranded here, the shame is not mine, but yours. So I told him, let's agree. Ukiniaja hapa, I'll never even tell somebody that you exist. You know, these are my stupid ideas that I'm trying to think that I'm challenging God. So when we were in this house, there is a pastor who came, a Baptist pastor. Then he came and researched in the airport, coming, you know, those people in the work, and he came and he received us. I said, oh, I kissed you, Mr. Kios, you know, and your family, and he took us, and he came smoking a pipe. I said, my God, this is wrong. He received us, he took us to his house, and then he said, I'm shaking like a leaf because it was in the middle of winter. And he knew that I have a need. So he came and he said, do you have a need? I told him, no, I'm okay. But when I'm telling him I'm okay, I'm just biting my teeth because of the cold. The weather had gone below. Is it 0 degrees Celsius? He said to my wife, no, we are okay. He talked to his wife and told his wife to check with my wife whether we have a need. We said no. If we have told God, we wanted to see his faithfulness. Anyway, to cut this long story short, on Sunday, because it was on a Friday when we arrived, Friday night. We stayed Saturday. Sunday, we went to church. And they did their fundraisings. They had about 4 fundraising for their projects. And then this pastor stood and said, we have our brothers from our motherland. He said, I tried to ask them whether they have a need. They said, no, they don't have a need. I used my wife to talk to his wife. She said, they don't have a need. But he said, last night, God spoke to me and told me that they have a need. And he said, I showed them